What's going on, y'all? Tevin West Talks Radio. That's where you're at. I'm on the road to go get my son right now. I just got off of work on Friday. This Friday. I wanted to share something with you. I'm gonna just get straight into it. Marriage, divorce. What divorce looks like for a man mainly. I don't know how it. Well, actually, I do know how it feels. I can perceive how it feels for a woman because my mom was a single mom when my dad left, and so I could see how she was dealing with everything, and that was interesting. But I want to talk about how it affects me, and so I I I can't. It would literally be the probably the death of me, 100% if I were to ever get married again or engage in a romantic relationship. Uh, I, I'm just out here at this point considering strongly taking a vow of celibacy for life. I mean, I have been down the road of pleasure and done that, and especially with marriage, some marriages are sex starved and things of that nature. I know nothing of that. It was that wasn't the reason that my marriage ended. You know, my marriage ended because one party was unfaithful, plain and simple. So they miscalculated. They didn't assess the risk matrix. But I just don't. As I was working through some things today, and I have been pulled into the office to talk about the possible, how do you say it, layoffs that could happen. I thought that I might have been exempt for that. I learned that I probably am not. There's a possibility, even though I've been in the government for 6 years, my position says career conditional, and because it says career conditional, I might have been put in that pot um, from OPM that gives it to Doge. So OPM is the government agency that files the hiring of government federal employees, and Doge is the Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk has made. Doge has completely skipped over the chain of command for all of DoD. So the list that was given to them by OPM was given to them by with no consideration from our chain of command at all in any form or fashion, from the commanders to anything. So they just pulled lists. So my my supervisor pulled me in and told me that my name could be on there. And as that was happening, I said to myself, man, I am so glad that I only have my son as a responsibility. I am so glad. I tried my best just because things didn't work out between me and my ex-wife. I try to make sure that I understand that my son was to be born out of that union, right? He wasn't an accident, and he's not a burden. He's a blessing. He's a blessing from the Lord. So my job is to figure out how to provide for this little blessing as best I can and lean on the Lord for support in that. So I thought to myself, man, like, I'm so glad that, because some people are like, what a time to be childless. Of course, probably. But I am not childless. I have a son. So for me, I was just like, man, what a time to only have one kid. But it made me think, like, man, like if I was married right now, and I don't know if, let's just say I get laid off. I don't know if my ex-wife would have ended up staying with me. Not that that was ever the case. It was never a case of money or anything like that. I just wonder, like, could it change if I get laid off and things of that nature? And but that's not really for me. That's more like thinking outside. Like a lot a lot of marriages end in divorce because of financial reasons, and so it 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 uh it makes me wonder what uh what other what other situations are like. But really, I'm just glad that I'm not married right now, because it could be a stressful time with all the uncertainty. But overall, I thought about it. I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, man, like I'll give you an example. The nature of certain elements of today's landscape when it comes to romance and the dating game and marriage and relationships, it's just bad. It's super super bad. Everything that's right is wrong, and everything that's wrong is right. There was a woman I was working out at the gym about 3 weeks ago now. She she caught my I'm still a man, so if something catches my eye, I'll look. But like, she caught me looking, and I didn't know she caught me looking, because at a certain point in time she came up to me, and she was a beautiful woman. She was living in Germany and came here for TDY, and she just started talking to me out of nowhere, and I was under the impression that she was trying to give me a chance. And I was like, how long are you going to be here? She was like, till Wednesday. It was Friday. So, you know. And I looked down at her hand, and I saw on her left hand, left ring finger, she had 2 rings on there. And I immediately cut the conversation off. Listen to me. I could not find myself in a situation with a woman who is already married or already with someone. And typically, if I am engaged with one woman at a time, one woman at a time. But the landscape is so different because, from my perception, women who are with you would want you to have the ability to go and seek other options or do it. A lot of women stay after their men cheat. It's only when the man probably stops messing around and tries to get their act together that they actually stay. And so for me, that's super wicked and twisted. Like, that's games. And even though if the man cheats, it's like, but like, if a man has a woman and she cheats, well, with today's landscape, we're so, as a collective, we can be weak. So a lot of men will take them back. But an actual guy, if a woman first time cheats, that's it. When my ex-wife was adulterating, that was it. We stopped having relations. We were roommates for about 8 months because she had to figure out how to get out of the house, out of the apartment. But we did not sleep in the same bed. We did not do anything, and she tried to crawl way back in, but I wasn't allowing it, because for me, you violated. I'm really big on not violating, but I've been violated. And it's something that happens. It's something that happened to me when I got violated. I was like, whoa, let me take a step back from this whole thing. Like, let me take a step back from this whole relationship, marriage thing. It was kind of like a death, Like when we got divorced, it was kind of like a death in a way, where a part of me just died. Not died like I couldn't go on, but died like the willingness and ability to actually engage with another female on that level and then commit for the long haul. I know it's crazy because I've gotten all types of advice from older gentlemen who are willing to give it, and for some I respect, because there are some that give it, I don't respect their opinion. But even the ones that I do respect their opinion, they'll be like, there's somebody else out there for you, which is true. And the second marriage is always better. As if the first one's gonna fail off the back. And that just, I'm like, whoa, whoa. You know, there are some guys out there. My dad's been married twice. He's on his second marriage. There are guys who've been on the third and fourth marriage, and I just don't have the. I don't have the wherewithal for that. I don't have the gumption for that. I don't have it. I'm not gonna say I don't have the balls for it, because that's not. I'm just not willing to actively put myself through that again, because that would, to me, would be the definition of pain. You know, when you get in marriage, it's not. It is a coming together of two incomplete people, and you have to focus on God, both of you, so that the woman can respect the husband, and the man can love the wife. And even after all of that, it's still not certain that either party will adhere to loyalty, because there's literal booby traps designed in the world, specifically in this country, because marriage is so easy to get out of, that are made to decimate your marriage, your relationships. There's booby traps built from when we're yay high to a full grown person that implement us to have bad relationship skills. Whether it's seeing parents go through divorce, and seeing how our parents deal with the divorce, whether they have people in and out of your life, whether it's going to high school and getting that girlfriend or getting that boyfriend, and it was always this thing in high school where it was like 6 months. You wait till 6 months, and then you start having sex or things of that nature. But like, why is that 6 month rule so arbitrary? Why is it to 6 months? Why is it such to 6 months? Oh, it's because it's sort of like a marriage. And then as I got farther into high school, and then in college, you know, people just straight getting to it, straight busting it down out the wrapper, first date. I think the first things that most of us do when we get together is have sex before we even get to know each other. Bam, out the socks, or keep the socks on, whatever you do. But the point I'm trying to make is, I can't do it anymore. And that doesn't make me a quitter necessarily. I just and maybe it does, but I've just washed my hands of relationships, period. It would absolutely do a number on me physically if I had to go through another process of getting to know someone, getting in a relationship, and then to have them do that again. And you might say, "Oh, he's scared of," or you're just scared of being hurt, scared of being cheated on. Yeah, especially if it comes out of nowhere. Was I perfect in our marriage? No. But let me tell you something. Nobody deserves to get cheated on. And nobody can make you cheat on your spouse or your mate or your partner. You choose to let that person, you choose to engage in that behavior, that activity, that, especially if it's perpetual. Now, we're all humans, so you do it one time, then maybe you actually did make a mistake. Like, oh, my bad. I mean, it took a lot for you to get to that point, probably. But, yeah. But if you're doing it over and over again, come on. That's like premeditated murder. Premeditated murder of your relationship that you have right in the current. And the thing to me is, I can't see myself, like, if I had a relation. This is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like if I had to entertain the idea of being in a relationship again and pursuing that, I feel like I would have to do all these weird things to make the opposite sex, the woman that I'm with, to make her understand that, like, it's weird. It's weird. It's like you have to be attractive to. You have to do things to keep the woman on her toes now, to make her act right and say, oh, like, he's really got it. Like, I've got a real man here, and it's like, you should understand that I'm already a man and doing obviously, if you're not doing what you need to do as a man and showing your masculinity, there's a problem. But if you are providing, if you are raising kids together, if you have them, if you are being attentive to her, and if you are saying about her needs, if you are handling your business simultaneously, doing that, and it's still not good enough for her, and she's looking for excitement, it's almost like, if I give, like, I used to bring my wife flowers every week, new flowers every week. We used to go on regular dates. We used to do a lot of things to make sure the temperature was checked in our marriage. And it seemed like the more and more I did that type of stuff, the more and more she began to pull away, I guess. I didn't realize she was, but I didn't realize that I was doing all the things that you're supposed to do, in quotations, to have a healthy marriage, but it was killing it because it's so reversed now. And I guess that's because of social media and because of the programming of some sorts, that the proverbial bad boy is better than the proverbial nice guy. But here's the deal. I ain't a nice guy. I just got manners. I think a lot of people get confused with people who have manners and people who are just cucks and nice. I don't. My ex-wife was trying to get me to have threesomes. She wanted to bring third parties into the marriage. But it's like, I have foresight. So I'm saying, like, okay, in a threesome, if you don't understand, a threesome is two women and one guy, all right? And a train is two guys and one girl. She wanted to have a threesome. Even that, some guys would be like, oh, that's amazing. Well, you're dropping the bag. She wanted a girlfriend as well. I'm like, listen, if you add a third party into your marriage or in your relationship, it spells disaster, because you're opening up another box, and you're allowing the enemy to come in and kill, steal, and destroy your relationship, and you don't even realize it. You see, a lot of people, they want to blame God for the misfortunes in their life, but people who say that never really understand that we have an enemy that is actively working against us to destroy us. That is Satan. Satan is actively trying to destroy whatever you have that is good in your life. You ever wonder why people talk about how they don't have good sex in their marriage, but before they get married, they have great sex? Because 95% of people who are married engage in premarital sex in some form or fashion before they're married. 95%. So, just saying. You ever wonder why it's so good in the beginning? You're getting everything you want, and then when you get married, it's like it stops. That didn't happen for me. The only time that started to happen was when she was cheating. But I didn't have that particular for the 3 years that we were married, I didn't have that particular issue going, but I know a lot of relationships do. And so, but you ever wonder why? Me and my ex-wife, we waited to have sex before marriage, which I think was good, but it didn't save us. It didn't save. It didn't save anything. Okay, that's not a freaking golden ticket for a perfect fail-proof marriage. There is no fail-proof marriage. But you ever wonder why though? You ever wonder why? It's because the enemy our opposition, which is Satan and his demonic angelic army, is actively trying to get you to sleep with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your fiance, and then once you're married, they're trying to keep you from having sex with your fiance, or listen, or your wife or your husband. And here's the deal: a lot of women allow their emotions to run their lives. So if you're not making your woman feel a certain way, it is not going to go well for you. It doesn't matter what you have to constantly make her feel a certain way every single time. And if you don't, it's not going to happen. And a lot of guys think logically, okay, if I do this and I do that and I do this, I'll get this in return. But that's not the way it works for women's brains. They do not think like that. They think with their feelings. It needs to feel right. It needs to be the mood. It needs to be the vibe. Notice how they're always talking about the vibe, the vibe, the vibe, the vibe. Okay? Even guys have got that into their vocabulary. It's got to be a vibe. So that type of stuff can be played on. And, you know, the opposition, the enemy, is really good at playing on your emotions. So you have to understand that. And so for me, that's how the game is played, and it's like marriage is not necessarily what it once was. Marriage is not in the physical form now, and in this country, marriage is not a covenant between, you know, you and your wife, vows up under God anymore. It's a covenant between you and your wife and the state, and they've taken God out of it. That's why whenever things happen in a marriage, listen, the vows are for rich or for poor, for better or for worse, in sickness and health, till death do us part. Those vows are, you might as well throw them out of the window when you get married. It is career conditional, like my job. That's what I thought about when I was pulled into the office today saying that I could be laid off. I've been doing this job for half a decade. Okay? Half a decade. And I've had all the good marks written up on my career. I've had great appraisals, great performances written. But it's career conditional. Still. It's conditional. It is based on performance. And that's what marriage is nowadays in this country. It is based on your performance. 70% of women initiate divorce. Men, it is based on your performance. And even then, if you're not performing up to the standard that they're hoping to be, which the goalposts can be moved all the time. Depends on who's in office. Depends on who's in office today and control those emotions. Will it filter? Will it change? And guys aren't off the hook either, you know. A lot of guys let their emotions run them too nowadays. A lot of guys don't think logically. A lot of guys think how I was just talking about. Oh, you know, I gotta keep her on her toes. But a lot of guys are just like, I'm just gonna go and do my thing anyway. I'm gonna go do my thing. I'm gonna go mess up what could potentially be a good thing. And if she's around, she's around. Not, but I'll think about that later. You know, I was just talking about in my last video, my last podcast, the story of Gideon. He had many wives, and he had a concubine. Okay? Not that it's permissible to do that in God's eyes. It's just a fallen world trait. But do you see that? Multiple wives. Women are okay with sharing a small percentage of men. Women are okay with sharing the what they would call the high value man. If that man has prominence and status and is respected by his peers and the opposite sex, certain status, certain reputation, they're fine with it. And his were fine with it too. And he had 70 sons. And so a lot of men do that thing too, and they go out here sowing seeds. The difference is a lot of men don't have the resources to provide for those children that they go out and they make. So they make these grave errors and creating broken homes, which I'm pretty sure Gideon did that too. Created broken homes. There's no way you could take care of 70 kids. But there's a story that's associated and that ends with that, and I'm going to tell you why Gideon's decision to have multiple wives was a bad idea. His decision to have multiple wives was a bad idea because when it was time for that family to carry on prominence, it resulted in, because there were so many sons, it resulted in a tragedy that I'll talk about on the next time I do public reading of scripture. But yeah, I just came on to talk about how I'm not sure if I'm willing to go through that again. And also that if you are in a marriage, stick it, work on it and make sure that all the T's and I's are crossed and dotted. This is not back in the day. I had both sets of my grandparents never got divorced. They stayed together. Okay? That is not happening anymore. And you cannot coast through, but it wasn't the easiest for them. And I didn't know a lot about what they had going on. Listen, my grandfather that died on my mom's side, when he died at his funeral, you know what showed up? A son from an extramarital affair showed up. All right? Was not easy for my grandmother to swallow. But the whole time in their marriage, my grandmother was not respectful, at least in the later years from what I saw. It was not respectful of my grandfather. So therefore my grandfather did not love his wife as proper as he should have. I also don't know the whole story, but so whenever mistakes and stuff happened, they stuck it out. They stayed together till death do us part. And and in my other set of grandparents, they stayed together too. That's not happening anymore. One party is gonna be fed up and say, I can do better for my life, and they're gonna leave thinking the grass is greener on the other side and break apart a family nowadays. It can and will happen. There's a 50% chance it can happen. 1 out of every 2 marriages fail in this country because of selfishness. That's man and woman. Okay? And so you got a lot of single parent homes. More people cohabitate today than marry. And I understand. I'm not over here like, oh, you need to be married because if you don't, it's a sin. Listen, there's optics. If you look at the situation, it is very, very much not in the favor of a man to get married. The court systems are brutal in this country with men. They will allow the woman to take half of that man's stuff, his retirement, his pension, and put him on child support. I'm not sure if it could happen in the reverse, where the man could win like that. If a man, I had to basically, a man has to, in order to get his kids or kid full time, he has to go hard in litigation. He has to say, he can't say, oh, I want my kid I want to do a 50-50. He has to put in litigation on paper. He has to get his lawyer to say, I want my kid full time. Not necessarily that he wants to have his kid full time and take his kid away from the mother. No, he has to do that just to prove a point to the courts that he wants to be a part of the kid's life. Just to prove a point that he wants to be part of the kid's life at all. We have to go hard for our kids because it is in the society. It is very, especially in the South. It is a understood thing that the mother, whether it's right or wrong, that the mother, the son, the child belongs to the mother outright. And it's probably because there's been a lot of fathers that abandon their children. A lot of fathers who are convincing mothers to abort the kids. And if they don't, oh well, like I'm gonna go do my own thing. There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of deadbeat fathers out here. I'm not over here just tackling the women. It's been a lot of deadbeatness going around in the city, in the town. So I'm not over here just bashing women. It's both parties, but I would very strongly consider, if you are married, to temperature check, and if you guys are not, if there's no cheating going on, you might want to work it out, because if you guys decide to split apart and you have kids, it could be an issue. If you don't have kids, that's a little different, but even then, if there's no cheating going on, hey, if there's no abuse going on, but it's just very difficult, and I just don't know if I could go through it again. You know, it's very, as a man who believes in the Lord, and a man who believes in principles that Christianity teaches, there's very few outs in a divorce. And the one out is in case of sexual immorality, or if the husband or the wife leaves, let them leave if they don't want to be reconciled. That's like two things. And obviously, like, if you're getting beat, you need to run. But that's kind of like in the whole, like, leave, you know? But if they're not doing anything to harm you, if they're not cheating on you, you know, if they're not abandoning you or abandoning a marriage, you're just two imperfect people that need to work together. But since I have been released from my obligation, I don't know if I want to do it again, because it's career conditional. Marriage is very much performance based. Marriage is very much happy wife, happy life type deal. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not bashing. I'm just keeping it real. It's groupthink here with men and women. It's like, keep the woman happy, keep the woman happy, keep the wife happy. And when you begin as a man to focus just solely on the woman, you pedestalize her. When you pedestalize a woman, you are by de facto beneath her. And then she's going to start treating you like that. So it needs to be a situation where you're still purpose driven and you don't get too soft. I'm telling you this because I've made that mistake myself. I made it all about her instead of making it about us and pursuing other things. It's like, you don't, and no man is exempt from this. I mean, Tom Brady's wife divorced him. Tom Brady's wife was cheating on him. Kaka, famous soccer player's wife, left him. Kaka, who do it like Kaka? World Player of the Year, best player when he was playing, millions of dollars, can give you anything you want. It's no man is exempt from that. It's a constant state of performance. Marriage is no joke, guys and gals. Marriage is no joke. And if you are considering marriage and you aren't married, you need to think long and hard about who it is that you're dealing with. It is not a game. And if it breaks, because I'm saying if it breaks apart, men specifically, you're gonna have to deal with the feelings that you have, and a lot of men don't allow themselves to deal with it because they're too busy trying to cover up the wounds and the heels by getting it in with another woman to kind of band-aid, not kind of, to band-aid their hurt. A lot of dudes, like after they're married, it's not too long before they're either bachelor lifestyle living it up, or they don't. A lot of men don't give themselves time to take a breath. They're just going to try to heal that wound with some more hurt. So they're back in another situation and they haven't even healed. And that's how you get people who are dudes who are married 3 or 4 times. Same on the women's side, I know that from looking at women who are divorced, a lot of them never get over that hurt. Jumping from dude to dude, no dude might not lock them back down, and then, they're sitting there reminiscing about the life that they had, especially if the woman hasn't moved on, but the guy has. But it's just important to just not to consider your path. That's all I'm saying. Because this is not a joke. The aftermath of a divorce is not a joke. It affects how you eat, breathe, sleep, and think. And I've had a lot to think about, and I still have not recovered from what's going on. And I want to feel better about it all, but it still burns you up a little bit. But that's all I've got to really talk about today. And I'm going to go in here and get my son. And so you guys have a great day. This has been Talks Radio. Tevin West, y'all have a good night.